The shiur this week is, first of all, sponsored Le'ilui Nishmas, a very, very great woman, the mother of Shulam Hershkowitz, this Baal Chesed that's helping me out now. And the yard site is this coming Sunday. Esther Mindel Bas Reb Aryeh. So all the brachos and all the divrei Torah, everything should be le'ilui nishmasa. And this coming Sunday, if somebody wants to learn a Mishnah or two, or even three, le'ilui nishmasa, that would be great and very grateful. It's light. This is the real thing. I have. All right. That's number one. Number two, the shiur is someone else sponsored, also Lizchus, him and his family. It's anonymous. Oh wow, thank you. Anonymous. Him and his family. Everything should work out. The shalom bayis and their financial situation and their emotional health and balance. All right. If anybody else wants to sponsor, feel free. No pressure, because this week's already sponsored. But if you want to top it up. All right. So this week I chose a topic which I spoke about 2 years ago. I added a few angles now, and in a way it was much harder for me to prepare because the whole time I was like, well, what did I say? And I don't have a recording of what I said because Mr. Resnick wasn't at that shiur, so I couldn't look it up, and I couldn't find. I wrote down notes. I couldn't find it. So the whole time I was just trying to remember instead of just preparing it as if I never learned it. But Baruch Hashem, I was able to put something together. But with that, if anybody realized last week in davening, there was something very interesting that happened. We had Kiddush HaChodesh. We announced Kiddush, if you want, Rabbi, if you want cholent, it's all kosher. And, okay, no pressure, but you could come back after or before, whatever you want. All right, so this week, we had something extremely unique. There are two things unique. Number one is we had Kiddush HaChodesh. Okay, that's number one. But the more unique thing was when they announced the Molad, they announced this thing, it's called the Molad, and many shuls they're makpid to do it in Yiddish, if you ever saw. They say something which means when the Molad, in accurate translation, when the birth of the Levana was, they announced some sort of timing. And this week, what that was unique about this week was they said the Molad was already. So Rosh Chodosh was Monday, but the Molad was before Shachris, or before Musaf, before they announced it, after Kriyas Torah. The Molad, they said the Molad was, a couple of hours ago. So the first question I'll say is more just a knowledge question, but just what exactly is this Molad and what is this Kiddush Levana that we do? What exactly is going on? And now if we realize there's something very, very interesting about Kiddush Levana, and I know BJX are extremely into dancing and excitement and happiness, right? And friendship and everyone are together and it's really one family here, right? Yeah? You agree? Yes. Yeah. We love each other like family and we fight like family. So it's like, the best of both worlds. But the rest of the world are not like that. But we have once a month that everybody are like that. When is that? By Kiddush Levana. Everyone are together outside. Everyone are saying Shalom Aleichem to each other. And after Kiddush Levana, we burst out with dancing, and different communities sometimes they extend it even, longer than the regular songs. And everyone are happy and wishing each other to have a good mazel and a good month. So what's unique about this Kiddush Levana, that for some reason it's the custom in Am Yisrael, I think everywhere, that it's such a friendly, nice, peaceful event, and also very happy event. There's two things that are going on, very together, and sometimes together doesn't bring so much happiness, but at this event, the together comes with a tremendous amount of happiness. Everyone together are singing and dancing and wishing each other bracha. So what exactly is going on in this Kiddush Levana? This minhag, by the way, of dancing and being together is in the most Litvish shul that you'll go to, they'll have this. Like it doesn't only belong to Talmidei Baal Shem Tov that brought in the singing and dancing into the religion, but even the most cold Litvak, as they call it, the most Lithuanian person that does not involve emotion in his avodas Hashem, for some reason by Kiddush Levana he bursts out with excitement and dancing, etc., as we mentioned. So what's unique about Kiddush Levana, and more so, even more a basic question, is what exactly goes on in this Kiddush Levana? What are all these, I want to say suspicious things we do, but what exactly is going on? Okay, fair question?
Yeah.
Okay, so just one more interesting thing is we mentioned David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayim by Kiddush Levana. We talk about Geula, David HaMelech. What exactly is going on? We'll try to sum this whole thing up. All right, so we'll start with basic astronomy, and I hope I'll be clear to understand. Shalom, can I borrow your flashlight that you have on your phone for a minute? Is it on? Oh, thank you. All right. So, everyone know there's the sun, there's the moon, and there's Earth. That everyone know, right? It wasn't so clear exactly what was going on up to a couple hundred years ago. There were big arguments. What exactly is happening? What's turning around what? Why is the moon the way it is? Why is the sun the way it is? Many, many things we only know for the past couple of hundred years accurately of what exactly is going on. Or there were arguments on it, but now there's no more arguments on certain basic things. Some people still argue even the basics, and they say they could find different explanations on everything. But let's take the regular concept that we grew up on: is the sun is in the center, or not in the center. The sun is standing, Earth is the center, but it's going around the sun, and the moon is also going, and the moon is going around Earth. Well, let's start with the concept that we know. There's the sun, and there's the moon, and there's Earth. And we can ask a question which will sound to us very silly today, but up to a couple of hundred years ago, there were many different explanations of what exactly happens. We see the moon, and the moon sometimes is big, and the moon sometimes is small. Is the moon growing and becoming smaller? This was a question that the scientists 1,000 years ago, they wrote books on. What exactly is happening to the moon? You wake up one day, and the moon is a nice little sliver like in the books. And then a different day, it's a big smiley face, right? So what is exactly happening? So today we know for a fact, but this is how it was always, is that the sun is giving the light to everything that in our universe. It's giving the light to the Earth. As we get it, we get day, we get the light, just the simple light. And it's also giving light to the moon. We're both getting light from the sun, as if we're both standing in front of the sun and getting light. However, this is how it operates. We don't have light. We don't have light sources. We're getting our light from the sun. Now, the sun is, let's take, for example, that this is the sun. This is giving the light. And let's say that this cup is Earth. Okay. And now this is the moon. So if the moon is here, let's say it's here, so the sun is lighting on both of them. Totally. What we see from Earth, we are looking at the back of the moon. We do not see at all any light because we are both facing the sun, the moon, which is this cup, and Earth are both facing as if they're facing the sun. So when we are in a straight line, we'll call it a straight line, we don't see any light. The moon is not there for us. It's a pitch dark thing that we're looking at it. We cannot see it at all. Now, the moon has a very unique thing. The moon is going around Earth. Every 29 days, 12 hours, and 44 minutes and 3/4 of a minute, the moon completes its surrounding. So let's say every 29 and a half and change days, the moon is going around. So when the moon is totally here, when it's exactly, we'll call it a straight line, we cannot see at all any light. The moon moves just a little bit. Now we get to see this sliver, only that sliver, because the rest of it, which is this part, is still blocked from us. And then the moon is going around. In the middle of the month, right, it takes 30 days. Let's just take 30 days to complete its circle around Earth. So after 15 days, the moon is here. So the sun is here, Earth is in the middle, and the moon is here. So what that happens is, when someone is standing here on Earth, and he's looking at the moon, he sees a full moon. Because the sun is now lighting us on, both of us, but the moon is behind us. So what we get to see, we see a full moon. So a full moon really is the same half a moon that's always lit. When the moon is over here, it's also lit the same way. The same circle is lit, but we don't see it. When it turns to here, it's also only a half a moon that's lit. The sun never shines on the whole moon. There's no such, the concept of a full moon is wrong. The full moon is really only a half a moon. Because when the sun is lighting on the moon like this side will always remain dark. Yeah, clear? So now, just for a small, side note, what is it called? The likui levana and likui chama. How do you eclipse?
Solar eclipse, like once every.
Yeah, like, a solar eclipse.
It happened recently when the eyes look. When you look at it, your eyes turn.
Yeah, but the solar eclipse and the moon eclipse. This is something that's just a cute thing to know. The solar eclipse is always, which means that you don't see the sun, is always by Rosh Chodosh. Why? Because the moon is going to block the sun. So we'll never see the sun. That's when we get a solar eclipse. When we can't see the sun, because the moon is actually blocking the sun.
Why isn't it every month?
What?
So why isn't it?
Because usually it's not in a straight line. Usually it's like this. We still can't see it because of the distance. But sometimes when the angle is a little different, that's when it blocks it. What? It depends on the angle, but it must be on Rosh Chodosh. It will never be that you'll have a solar eclipse on Vav L'Chodesh or Tisvav L'Chodesh. And that's a solar eclipse. And a Likui Levana, moon eclipse, how do you say it?
A lunar.
A lunar eclipse will always happen on Tesvav, the middle of the month. Why? Because, again, the middle of the month, the moon is here and Earth is in the middle. So what that happens is, sometimes Earth is blocking the sun from the sun to get to the moon, and that's how we get the lunar eclipse. So, always, a solar eclipse will always happen by Rosh Chodosh time. And when you see a full moon, that's when there's a chance that there'll be a lunar eclipse. That's just a simple thing. Still today, if you look at when's going to be the next, solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, it'll always be either a Rosh Chodosh of a Hebrew date or a Tesvav of a Hebrew date, like that time. Just because of the way it's set up. Okay, so that's what changes what changes for us when how we see the moon. Now, because the moon, if we think about it, because the moon is going around Earth, every day we get a little bit of a bigger sliver. In the beginning of the first day, right after it was totally pitch dark, there's a little sliver of light. That little sliver of light, that's what's called the molad. The moon moved a little bit because the moon is turning around Earth every 29 and a half days. So the first day, it wasn't there. It's as if the moon disappeared. The next day, the moon moved a little bit. Now we get a little sliver of light. The next day, it's even more. We get a larger sliver. Every day, it grows till the middle of the month. The middle of the month, it's a full moon, and we get to see everything. The whole moon. And then it starts becoming smaller and smaller, but the other side of the circle. Because now, when it's coming the other way around, the side that we see will be the side that's shining will be this side. When it started moving here, we saw this side, but when it's coming back, the sun is still here. So in the beginning, we only see this sliver. When it's coming back, we start seeing this half, and that's why it goes every month. It starts with a sliver on this side, like that, this angle from my direction.
Waning and waxing.
What?
It's called the waning moon and the waxing moon.
A waning moon and a waxing moon.
Waning and waxing.
Okay, or the waning moon and
with a W.
Waning.
Waning?
Yeah.
All right,
I mean,
that's a winning word.
When it gets
So
smaller and,
it's a waning moon and a waxing moon.
Bigger and smaller.
Okay,
Yeah.
does it have any shaykhs to waxing, like wax, like Abdullah candle?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. Is it spelled different?
No,
it's
no,
spelled the
it's
same.
spelled the same.
It is spelled the same.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
just a different
Because
usage.
it looks like an eyebrow, trying to wax the eyebrows.
Okay, so that's what happens in general during the month. Now, when we say the molad is going to be at this time, it's that first sliver you see.
That first move the moon makes.
That first move that the moon makes. That's the first sliver, that's the sliver which we see. That's called the molad. Now, another, so then that's the molad, and it's as if the moon wasn't there, and now it was born. And then it gets smaller and smaller after 15 days, after the middle of the month, start getting smaller and smaller until it disappears.
And it's always going to
And
be
it
on the day of
re-
Rosh Chodosh, the molad?
No, the molad this week was this
So
month
then-
was 2 days before. We'll get to
You're
that in
going
a
to
second.
explain how the molad can be on a different day than Rosh Chodosh?
I'm going to explain why they're not connected one to each other.
Right now.
They are connected. I mean, obviously they
Why
are
the molad is
connected.
not on the day of Rosh Chodesh?
Right. The molad. What is the molad? The molad is the first sliver that happened.
So it should be on Rosh Chodesh.
Right,
but
it
it
should
First
be.
waning.
It should be.
Now, really,
Right.
technically, you're right. What that really should be is
Oh,
the
the old days
molad
when they-
in the
when-
olden days.
When it came to say the
I want to start this week's. I forgot even to say this week's parsha. Why am I talking about this topic? This week's parsha is Parshot Bo, and the first mitzvah. This was supposed to be the introduction. So backtrack if you could fix it on the video. No, it's fine. But this
to watch the
week's parsha is Parshot Bo, and the first mitzvah that Bnei Israel got was HaChodesh Hazeh Lochem Rosh Chodashim. Rishon Hu Lochem L'chot Shashana. Right? The first mitzvah we got. The first Rashi on the Torah asks, why does the Torah start with Bereshis? Why doesn't it start with HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, which is the first mitzvah? That is the first mitzvah we have. Now, there's a few things that are unique about this mitzvah. It's a mitzvah that's written HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, and it's fascinating. Why is it Lachem? HaChodesh Hazeh Rosh Chodashim. It has nothing to do with us. It's the way the world is going. The world is going around. The moon is going around.
We control the world.
It's not lochem. This is Rosh Chodesh. This is what happens, right? So what is it about lochem? So the Rishonim learn from this, the Mishnayos. You have to have a beis din in order to do Kiddush Levana. Why? It's lochem. We are those that announce the Rosh Chodesh. We say Mekudesh, and then it becomes Rosh Chodesh. So Eidim, witnesses, have to come. And beis din asks them questions as if they're coming, like a regular case. How did you see the moon? They try to trick them. One of the basic questions they ask is, was the sun before the moon or after the moon? We'll get in a minute what exactly that question is. But many questions like this to see if they actually saw it or they were just moon talking. What is it? Moonwalking, whatever it is, or they actually know that was Rosh Chodesh. So what is this mitzvah of HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chodashim? It means that Hashem is teaching us in the first mitzvah. We are those, even on things that seem obvious, we are those that put it in control for the halachos that are nogah for us. We are those that make Rosh Chodesh into Rosh Chodesh. And there's an interesting halacha. If a person doesn't say Ya'alev Yovo at night of Rosh Chodesh, in Shemona Esrei he forgets, he doesn't need a choser. You don't choser, you should say Ya'alev Yovo, but if you forget, it's fine. I mean, not that it's fine, but you don't need a choser again. And I always thought that's because Ma'ariv used to be, not so reshus. That's what I used to think many years ago. That's because it's reshus, so it's such a mistake. But it's not true because Ma'ariv of Chol HaMoed, if you forget Ya'alev Yovo, you do go back. By Rosh Chodesh, you forget Ya'alev Yovo, you don't go back. So what's the difference? The difference is there's a halacha that beis din einam yoshvim balayla. There's no beis din at night, only in the day. Since Rosh Chodesh has to have Eidim, and Eidim see the moon at night, they only could come to beis din in the day. So really, always Rosh Chodesh has like a halacha of Safek. We don't know if it's Rosh Chodesh or not. Even though when the Kiddush Levana, when the Rosh Chodesh will happen, it happens retroactive. It happens from the night before, and we act in Hilchos Feikos. We act that maybe it's going to be Rosh Chodesh that night. But till today, Ya'alev Yovo, if we forget, we don't need to go back because even back then it wasn't a Vadai Rosh Chodesh. And originally, how they used to do it, because you had to have Eidim come to Beis Din, and that was always the day after. They said, we last night saw the moon, and this is how it looked. Therefore, when we forget Ya'aleh V'Yovo, we don't need to go back. Now, something fascinating. Yeah. So this is what Molad is, and this is what happens when it goes every day. If you it moves a little bit. Now, on this calculation, just to know on this calculation what exactly happens. So, when we have here, again, the sun and Earth, right? And here's the moon. When they're in a straight line, the moon is going around Earth. Before. When we just have the sun and Earth.
Move the beard for the camera to see a little to the
Oh.
yeah.
Okay, camera sees. Yeah. When
You can put it in front of your safer.
when we see every day, this is the sun and it's sliding here. Day and night happen, right? Why? Because the Earth is turning. Now I don't want to complicate things, but Earth is turning. The sun, let's say, is staying, and this is turning. So we have a day and night. That's a zricha and shkia, sunrise and sunset, right? On the phones now, they have it like as part of the day, sunrise, sunset. If you look at the weather.com, right?
Yeah.
The moon, which is in the middle, we have the same moonrise and moonset because Earth is turning the same way. So Earth is turning, just like Earth is giving us sunrise and sunset, we have moonrise and moonset. The same thing when the Earth is turning. So if we think about it, Rosh Chodesh, it's in a straight line, right? Rosh Chodesh, it's in a straight line. That's why we can't see the moon. Right before Rosh Chodesh, it's a straight line. Right. So when we have sunrise, we really also have moonrise because they're in a straight line. When we have sunset, we have moonset. And really, when people do Kiddush Levana, which is usually a few days after Rosh Chodesh, if it's very close, many times you can't see the moon. You can't see the moon because the moon already went down. We had sunset. Moonset. Sorry. Every day, because the moon is going around Earth like that, the moon doesn't go up at night and goes down at day. The moon is going exactly with the sun. Not exactly with the sun. The same sunrise and sunset with its hours. Now, because the moon is going around Earth, every day we get 45 minutes because it takes 30 days, and after 30 days it's in the same spot. So we have about 45 minutes a day delay. So if the first day after Rosh Chodesh they go down together, the second day we'll have 45 minutes of the moon. And the next day we'll have an hour and a half of the moon. Every day the moon is adding because the moon is moving from the sun. So now when Shkia happened, when sunset happened, the moon is following it, but with a delay. So we have another 45 minutes.
Why is there a delay?
Because the moon is going around Earth. Here it's in a straight line, so they go down together. But here, now the sun went down and the moon goes down later because the Earth is
Further?
no, just because the Earth. I need another cup. 1 second.
The moon is just orbiting, but it's not rotating on an axis like Earth.
Here, like this.
We're always
Here,
looking
1
at the same
second.
side of it.
This is like this, right? So now, let's say Shkia means that, right? Here, the capital thing, it's turning around, now it's dark. We don't see anything, right? So what that happened, it moved, the sun went away from this capital person. Here, I'll do it facing you guys. The sun moved away to here, right? But the moon also moved, the same thing, because now we can't see them both, right? The next day, the moon shifted to here, because it has 29 days to go around. So the sun stayed in the same spot, the earth stayed in the same spot, but the moon shifted a little bit. It shifted enough that it'll take 30 days to go around. Mm-hmm. Now, it's perfect. Now what that happens is, this capital is still turning, right? And now the capital here, it's dark. But first, what went down first? I mean, it's the wrong direction, but first the sun goes away, and then the moon is still here, because it shifted backwards. Yeah. And the next day will shift more, so we'll lose the sun first, and then we'll have a few more days, a few more hours, eventually 12 hours more of the moon. So in the middle of the month, we have a full moon the whole night. because when the sun went down, it's the exact opposite. That's when the moon comes up. That's when we get the dark, right? Earth is here now. This is in the middle of the month. This is the moon. This is Earth. When we lose the sun, we start getting the moon. And that's why we have a full moon. Now we're on the dark side, and we're seeing now the full thing. So every day it's shifting 45 minutes. So when is it the time that they're in a straight line together? The sun and the moon, as close as it is, it's on the day of Rosh Chodosh, right? Then it's the time that Earth is not, the moon is the closest to the sun. That's the day that Earth is closest to the sun, right? And that's why we don't see at all the moon. This is the moon, we don't see it at all. Because the sun, the light is to here, just like for us, and we can't see it. So that's the technicalities of how it happened. I hope it was...
And where does the molad come into all that?
The molad is when you don't see the moon at all. And then the first sliver, when the moon moved a little bit, we get a sliver. It's as if the moon was reborn.
And you said that, and sometimes that's not on Rosh Chodosh. So can you explain how there are sometimes when they announce the molad, it's not the same day as Rosh Chodosh?
This year it was on Shabbos.
Okay,
this
so
month.
if you could explain that phenomenon, that would be
because
amazing.
that Rosh Chodosh has another component to it, which is that Beis Din have to say that's Rosh Chodosh. Let's take out the calendar a minute for the picture. So even though the molad happened,
what he's asking is in the old days, Rosh Chodosh was always on the day of the month.
no, if it was a cloudy day and Adim didn't see it, no one saw it. So they waited until the second day, and that's how 2 days.
So now that we have a permanent calendar, there are times that the molad day and the Rosh Chodosh day are different.
That's
Can
a
you
question.
explain
That
that?
I cannot explain.
Fine.
Yeah. I just want to say they're not tied together. Be'etzem. They're not. It's not that every time there's a mola there has to be Rosh Chodosh, because the halachos of the mola that happens, there's another step that has to happen in order for Rosh Chodosh to happen.
What's the so?
That Eidim need to come to Beis Din.
So you're not explaining the phenomenon of the two things not being on the same day.
But as in they should be on the same.
They should be, yeah.
But sometimes they're not.
No, they always are. They always technically are, but in those days we have to wait for the agent to show up in Bezin. So that's
So
why.
now we have a permanent calendar. We don't have that.
Right.
Yeah,
So
the
we
calendars
never
are
mind
different.
today.
The calendars and everything.
But in the old days, it should have.
It should have, but it didn't always. Sometimes it was a little later, and that's why we have 2 days Rosh Hashanah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So now there's another. Okay. So that's the technicalities of what exactly happened. I just want to read the lashon of the Ramah in the end of Hilchos Kiddush Levana, towards the end, and there's many halachos on Kiddush Levana, and a lot of minhagim to do it like this and not to do it like that. But the Ramah ends off something very interesting. Minhagim lomar. The minhag is to say, David Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayim. We need to say David Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayim by Kiddush Levana. Why? Shemalchuso nimshal levana. The malchus of David HaMelech is like a moon. She'asid li'ischadesh kemosa. Ve'asid li'ischadesh kemosa. Just like the moon, we always have a restart. The malchus of Beis David is also going to rebuild, and that's why we see the moon. It shows that Inyan. David HaMelech's malchus is nimshal levana, and that's why by Kiddush Levana we mention David Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayim. The Knesset, that's number 1. Number 2, Knesset Yisrael, which is us. Tachzor lihisdabek bebayla shehu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We will connect again. Tachzor lihisdabek. What would be a translation for lidabek?
To connect.
Glue, be glued.
To connect.
Glue, connect. The husband, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Knesset Yisrael is like the wife. What? Cleave on. What? Dugmas halevana, where's here the devek? Dugmas halevana hamitchadeshes im hachama. So the moon, when it's mischadesh, it's with the sun. Why is that? As we said, they have to be in a straight line. Earth is here, the moon is here, and the sun is here. When the sun and the moon are the most close together, but we see a sliver, that's when it's as if they're together. So the ischachus happened together with the chama. And that's why that's Knesset Yisrael, which Tachzor Lihisdabek bebayla, v'lekach osim smachos v'rikudim. This is why we are besimcha, and this is why we dance. Bekiddush HaChodesh, dugmas simchas nisuim, like marriage, like the simcha of marriage. Now, don't start juggling by Kiddush Levana, but the same simcha, the same rikudim that you have, the dugma of that, you do now to show the like as if we're marrying a Kiddush Baruch Hu. We're waiting to come back for the thing, and the Shemesh and the Levana, the sun and the moon, are reflecting the same inyan, and it brings it to us. Now, where did this? So that's these halachos. It comes from the technicalities of how things work. These minhagim and halachos came out. Now, where did the Shalom Aleichem come from? Right? You turn around, Shalom Aleichem, Amen Bracha, right? Where did that come from? So, it says in Bereshis that the moon turned to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, it used to be back in the day by Shisha Mei Bereshis, which we can't really understand what went on over there because it was before the whole system was completed. But the moon and the sun were Shnei Me'oros HaGdolim. I don't know exactly what happened, how exactly was, did the moon have its own light or not, but they were equal. Shnei HaMe'oros HaGdolim. Yeah? And then after that, it says, Es HaMe'or HaGadol LeMimshel Hayom. Es HaMe'or HaKaton LeMimshel Zah. You started off the pasuk that we have two Me'oros Gdolim. And we switch it that there's a Mara Gadol and there's a Mara Katan. What happened? So Rashi says, it's a medrash, the Levana came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and told HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not good to have two kings in the same position. It doesn't work. Partners are always getting into fights, right? It's not good. So Hashem said, great idea. You become smaller, right? That's what the Medrash says. And that's when the moon became small, and in comparison to the sun is the Mor HaGadol, and the moon, she is Hamor HaKatan. It says in the Sfarim, we say Shalom Aleichem, Demar B'Shalom, at the time when we are discussing the moon, and it's going away and coming back. All these things happen after that. Lechi ma'ati et atzmech. You go become smaller. We want to bring back the shalom, that the moon and the sun should be in peace together. That the moon should be able to live in peace together. And that's why we mar b'shalom. We bring out shalom by Kiddush Levana. We turn to everybody and say Shalom Aleichem for zecher to that thing, to bring out that thing to be mar b'shalom. What can we take out from this whole thing? Number one is we understand what's going on in Kiddush Levana a little more, and that's already a good thing. And also now no one will run away by the dancing, because it's like whatever, Ramon, it makes sense. But number two is, I think what we could take from this is to remember, this week we have a Kiddush Levana, this Motzei Shabbos. Unless someone already did it, but okay, but you still need to listen for next month. So it's going to happen again, yeah. But it's Dugmas Knesset Yisrael she'asida le'ischadesh le'isdabek b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This whole relationship that's going on, when we look at the Kiddush Levana, it needs to remind us that we also are going to have, like marriage, back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're waiting for the Geula HaAsida, which David HaMelech is nimshal to this. And through this, it's coming back. We shall be zoche to that bimher b'meinu, and just try to achieve that yearning to that through seeing that and being able to uplift a little bit towards that. Guten Chodesh for Monday. Good Shabbos. Tu B'Shvat. That's the middle of the month, right?
Yeah. The full moon.